Okay, I mentioned my name's Rachel Gustafson. I am your presenter today. I am a certified financial planner with Financial Investment Team. We specialize in holistic financial planning for women, couples, and businesses. I've been doing this a little over 10 years. And in these webinars, it's really important for us just to be educating you on topics that we think are really, really important. And one of them is this idea of cybersecurity. I am not an IT specialist, I'll tell you that up front, but some of the tips that I'm going to go through today are to help you protect yourself, and they're really important. So we're going to get started here. 2 seconds. That's how often someone becomes a victim of identity theft. Last year, there were over 14 million victims of identity theft and fraud. So the question, are you one of those 14 million? I'm going to pop up a little poll question for you to answer. Has your personal information been exposed? Yes, no, or I have family or friends who have. Just to give us a little update on who we have in the room and see if any of us have. I'll give you just a minute to answer that poll question that should have popped up for you. And I'll give you a couple more seconds. All right, so I'm going to share these with you. Looks like 20% yes, 40% no. Good for you, 40% no. You're probably protecting yourselves, that's important. 40% of us have had friends and family who have. I know I've had my information exposed, and I know that probably most of us know someone who has. And if we haven't, we're one of the lucky few, right? So the statistics say that most likely you have, right? The past few years have given us record-breaking breaches. You see only a few of the big ones here. We've got the Marriott hotel chain exposed data on 500 million guests in a recent breach. The credit reporting agency Equifax suffered a massive breach that affected 143 million Americans. I was included in that. Yahoo took first place for the biggest breach in history, with news of hack that affected every single Yahoo account. That's 3 billion users. These are just some of the few breaches that have occurred in the last few years. So given those statistics, it's likely that your personal information has landed in the hands of a hacker at some point. In addition, new threats are being exposed every day. Even as we sit here, there are cyber attacks happening. So let's talk about how we can protect ourselves. The authors of the book Cybersecurity and Cyber War contend that a cyber war is underway, and we're all involved. Our biggest problem, they say, is that we face a cybersecurity knowledge gap. So that's why I'm here. We have low knowledge and low security. This is where we are. We need to be here. We need to have higher knowledge and higher security. It's a serious growing problem. We're hearing about it more and more in the media, and most people don't realize how vulnerable they are or what they can do to maximize their security. So by the end of the day of today, I want you to leave better prepared to protect yourself, your family, and even your business. So the solution, a personal cybersecurity system. There's 3 parts to this. So part 1, which applies to that handout that I attached, and I'm going to talk about in a moment, is discovering your personal cybersecurity score. Okay. Part 2 is learning the new cybersecurity rules. That's where I come in. I'm going to be talking about that today. And part 3, something I'm going to encourage you to do at the end of today's webinar, is to take action. There are going to be some actionable steps that we talk about today on how you can protect yourself, and I encourage you to do that. So I'm going to cover the most important threats and actions that you can take, but it really doesn't cover everything. You're going to find some more ideas and actions on the handout that's attached. And we also have a book that, if you're interested, there's going to be a survey at the end of today's webinar. It's called Hack Proof Your Life Now. Really great book. If you want a copy of it, we're going to mail them out to you. So part 1, discover your score. This is what the handout looks like here. And so what you're going to do, and what I want you to do following the webinar today, is to take some time to complete it, okay? You're going to give yourself 5 points for every yes answer. Then you're going to add up your points, and you're going to look at your rating in part B. Now, I don't want you to be discouraged if your score is low. Mine was when I first did this. But knowing where you stand is the first step in creating your cybersecurity plan. Part 2, this is where I come in. Learn the new cybersecurity rules. So let's talk about those. There are these 3 cybersecurity mindsets that you can develop, and it's going to strengthen and maintain your cybersecurity plan. Okay, the 3 mindsets cover various parts of your life, and they overlap to form this sweet spot of actions that are going to boost your cybersecurity score. Each mindset alone provides greater security, but the combination of the 3 is really important. So the mindsets are secrecy, omniscience, and mindfulness. And we're going to dig into each of these. Each mindset contains a group of actions for people to take, and this is called the new cybersecurity rules. I'm going to explain each of them. Number 1, we need more secrecy in our lives, okay? Adopting this new level of secrecy is going to boost your security and cyber confidence. The secrecy mindset entails keeping your personal and private data private. With all the massive amounts of data breaches suffered by corporations and governments, we need to act as if our personal data already exists in the hands of cyber criminals, because it likely does. So we need to draw a tighter ring of security around our personal data, and that starts with your email. So our email address is the key to our digital lives. We share it with countless businesses, organizations, people. If you've used the internet for any amount of time, you've entered your email address at a host of online accounts. Maybe it's for shopping, traveling, exercising, gaming. We don't even think twice about it. Oh, you want my email address? Here it is. Okay. But having your email addresses in so many databases puts you at significant risk. Hackers routinely breach the security networks of many organizations that hold your primary email address. And that stolen personal data, paired with poor email security, it can lead to the disaster. So I have a story for you. Story of professor and software security expert Herbert Thompson. So Thompson, he bet a friend of his that he could hack into her bank account. So with her permission, he began. He first simply Googled her name. He stumbled upon her blog and an old resume. From the blog, he got her personal email address and her old college email address from her resume. Thompson started at her college email login page. You know that little button that says forgot my password? He used that. It asked a security question that he found the answer to on her blog. Once he reset the password, he was able to reset her current email address, having the reset link sent to her college email. Tricky, right? But also pretty easy. From her personal email account, he could reset her online banking password. Now, you may not care if someone hacks into your Food Network or your Yelp account, but you certainly don't want your online banking exposed in the same way. This is why we recommend you create a separate, secret email for your financial accounts. This email address, it should be unidentifiable. Don't use your first name, your last name, your initials, or any other identifying information. It should also be protected with a strong, unique password, right? Not the name of your dog or your kiddo's birth date, something that's very unique. A separate email address reduces your digital footprint. And if your primary non-financial email address is exposed in a hack, it's not going to be connected to your financial accounts. This is a big key in boosting your security. Also, it was one that I hadn't done, but I have now done, and I think that it's a really, really smart move. Separate email address for your financial accounts. All right, rule number 2. We need to put a special layer of security on our important accounts, such as email, online banking, social media, and more. That extra layer, it's relatively new trend. It's one that I use on everything. It's called two-step verification, also known as two-factor authentication. It really should be added to any account you have that supports the technology. Not all companies have this offered quite yet, but more and more are. Most financial institutions do offer this. So how it works is you start to log in to your online account, and you're sent this short-lived one-time passcode that you have to use to finish logging in. You can receive it via text message or something called an authenticator app. Most often people use text message. And it's a really, really secure way to log into your accounts and protect yourself, because it stops your accounts from getting hacked. It requires 2 separate things: something you know, your password, and something that you have, the temporary code. So even if a hacker has your password, he can't gain access, and you'll be alerted if someone is trying to break into your account, because you're going to get that code on your phone and you'll know, oh, someone's trying to log in and it's not me. You don't need to worry about entering the code every time you log into your account from the device. Many sites will allow you to designate safe devices like your computer at home. I wouldn't recommend it on your phone, because that is something that is commonly stolen, is a phone. So if you're going to save a safe device, it should be something that's in your home. Okay, so we talked about secrecy, right? Having a separate email for your financial accounts, setting up two-factor authentication. Now we're going to move into omniscience. We need to know what is going on with our cybersecurity at all times. Completing certain actions can really help you achieve this financial cyber omniscience and thwart fraud. So let's talk a little bit more about this. Freeze your credit and protect your children. Okay, let's dive a little bit deeper here. It's very, very critical to everyone's cybersecurity that you understand this. Many people don't quite understand how their credit files work. By default, your credit file is open, okay? That means that anyone with enough information to impersonate you could open a new line of credit in your name. Happens all the time. It's a major source of identity theft. So what we need to do is take back control of our credit by using what we call a credit freeze. So a credit freeze locks your credit file with a PIN. Now you need to go to each of the credit bureaus to do this, but no new credit can be issued in your name unless you lift that freeze with your special PIN, okay? You will have to contact each of the credit bureaus, like I mentioned. As of September 2018, credit freezes are actually free in every state, thanks to a new federal law. Previously, you had to pay to have a freeze put on your account. And so it really, the credit freeze puts you in control. It's a much more secure way than credit monitoring or a fraud alert, which many of us use. This alerts you after something has been issued in your name, but a credit freeze actually prevents it from happening at all. So where it can get a little bit annoying, I was refinancing my house and I have credit freezes on mine, and it got kicked back. They were like, oh, we can't pull your credit. And I was like, oh, okay, I gotta go unfreeze my credit. So there is that piece of it, but really it's a great way to protect yourself, because no new credit can be opened in your name by doing this. And it's just one extra step, really something that we recommend, okay? Now, the other piece to this that's really important that most parents don't realize, that it's not just your credit that you need to be concerned about. So experts say that about 500,000 children suffer from identity theft every year. Why? Their clean records are attractive to thieves, okay? They're looking to open new accounts without any issues. And the other piece of this is it can go unnoticed by parents and guardians for years, because it's not something we think about. Oh, we're not, it's a child. We're not building their credit. They don't have credit in their name. And so you may not even catch this until you get to the point where you're helping your kiddo start to build credit. But it can lead to a lifetime of fraud and ruined credit, and it happens. So what can you do? The first step in protecting your children is ensuring that they have no credit report. You can contact each of the 3 credit bureaus to do this. So Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. You'll need to send a letter that includes copies of their birth certificates so that they can prove that you're their parent. You might need to provide your driver's license and proof of address. But they'll do a manual search for your kiddo to make sure that nothing's been opened in their name. If no report is found, great, wonderful. You should still periodically check. However, if a report is found, it's usually a sign that your kiddo has been victimized. So you need to ask the credit bureaus to immediately place a freeze on your child's record and investigate further. You can actually now credit freeze your child in every state. Previously, it was dependent on your state of residence, but now it's a federal law. So a recommendation we have is freeze your kiddo's credit, and you can unfreeze it when you get to the point where they're old enough and you want to start building credit for them. But as their parent and their guardian, you've got to advocate for them and protect them. So that's really important. So not just yourself, but your kiddos. Sad but true. I mean, cybersecurity is important. Okay. Key number 3. Our third cybersecurity idea, this has to do with mindfulness. Achieving a sense of mindfulness when it comes to cybersecurity allows you to stay alert without becoming fatigued. So what do I mean by this? We need to be in a state of relaxed alertness when dealing with cybersecurity. Fighter pilots have an acronym, it's called OODA, it stands for observation, orientation, decision, and action. Zen masters use the phrase mindfulness. When Google completed their own analysis of worldwide cybersecurity practices, they also recommended mindfulness as a key part of cybersecurity. So let's talk about a little bit of this mindfulness piece that you can use in your daily life. 10-second email rule, okay? Examine, message, and inspect the links. One of the biggest threats today is a strain of malware. It's called ransomware. And what it does is it kidnaps your computer and it holds it for ransom. Recent cases of this include the Colonial Pipeline, JBS, the world's largest meat packer, even the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department. So what happens in this attack is hackers infect your device with malware that encrypts, locks everything on your computer. You can no longer access any of your files. In order to get your files back, you have to pay the hackers a Bitcoin ransom. So ransomware attacks are normally spread through this method called phishing. You may have heard of it. Phishing messages are emails that impersonate a legitimate company or person and are designed to steal your personal information or install malware on your machine through a malicious link. Hackers send out billions of these messages every day. I get tons of them every day, and I'm like, oh, phishing, 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 delete, delete, delete. Most will get caught by your spam filter, but some do find their way into your inbox. And so there's a 10-second cybersecurity rule, the acronym EMAIL, that will help protect yourself. And we're gonna dig into this a little bit deeper, but you can remember it by thinking email, examine, message, and inspect link. So let's talk about what this actually means. Before we dig into it, I just love stories. So we're gonna start with a little story. We're gonna look at one straight out of the White House. The wife of John P. Holdren, assistant to former President Obama, She received an email which she believed was from her husband. It asked for the password to their Xfinity phone and internet account. And she didn't even think about it, sent the password, went about her day. But she had not sent the password to her husband. She had sent it to a political hacking group who, with the password, redirected all of Holdren's phone calls to the Free Palestine Movement line. Now, had Holdren's wife known the 10-second email rule that I'm about to teach you, she might not have fallen for the scam. So this is happening everywhere. All right, so the first half of the acronym, examine the message. So let's talk about this. Starts with your subject line. Phishers try to get us to react quickly to an urgent situation. So often the subject line is going to be something that invokes worry. It might say warning, account closed, security alert. Some are a little more subtle, so it might say mail delivery failed, return message to sender, or incoming fax received. If you have a subject line like this in your email, then you should be on the alert that it could be a phishing attack, okay? The next step, if you see that, the next step that you want to look at is who is the true sender of the email, okay? The subject line. Now, what phishers can do is they can actually spoof the from line to appear to be from a legitimate business or organization. And what you can do is you can actually determine the true sender by hovering your mouse over the display, and a small box is going to pop up telling you who the true email address is. And so I actually had this happen with Bank of America. I got a Bank of America email saying you need to update your information, something along those lines, and it said it was from Bank of America. But when I hovered over the email section, it showed the email, and I could tell right away that it wasn't from Bank of America. It usually has a weird email where you could be like, I'm not sure about that. Other suspicious things to look for include greetings that refer to you as customer or sir or madam. They might have poor grammar or a vague signature line with false contact information. Those are all signs that this might be a phishing email, okay? If it's coming from your bank, they have people who are editing their emails. They're not going to send you something that has poor grammar. So, and I rarely see them say sir or madam. That's usually something that I look at and I'm like, I don't know about that. You should really be suspicious of unsolicited emails, ones that have attachments. Don't ever open an email that you weren't expecting that has an attachment. Okay, that is a sign that it could be something that could hurt your computer, plant a virus on your computer, anything like that. So you may be asking yourself, okay, well, how do I know which emails are from my bank, or financial institution or people that I know? These are the things to look for, but also if your bank is asking you to verify information, click on a link, anything like that, usually I delete the email, even if I think it might be from my bank, and I go log into my bank account and check to see if that same message is there. Because if it is from your bank, it's going to be there when you log into your bank account. So my rule of thumb is don't ever click on anything from a financial institution. Go log in separately and see if they're asking for it there. Because these emails are getting better and better. The second part of the 10-second email rule has to do with the links in the message. So I'm going to give you another story. British journalist Jane Corbin, less than an hour away from an important deadline for a documentary she was working on. She was doing multiple things at once. She was worried about this deadline. She suddenly spotted an email from Yahoo. It told her she needed to confirm her account details immediately or her account was going to be shut down. She was under pressure. She needed these documents in her emails. So she clicked the link and she filled out the personal information. Immediately, her screen goes blank. She's been phished. The phishers then attacked their new targets, Corbin's email contacts. So more than 1,000 people in her email address received an email from her saying that she had been robbed at a hotel in Spain and needed money. Corbin was locked out of her computer and was forced to close her banking accounts. If she had waited those 10 seconds just to examine that Yahoo message a little more closely, she probably could have prevented the attack. And often we get into this zone of being, we live in a fast-paced world. It's easy to just want to click the link and be done with it. But just taking these 10 seconds to follow through these steps could really save you. If it looks fishy, delete it. You can always contact, like I mentioned before, you can always contact the organization directly and ask if they sent you the email. It really needs to become part of your daily cybersecurity practices. Links. So inspecting the links. This is the big one. Phishers will spoof the links. All you need to do is hover over the link to see the actual URL to determine if it's a real URL. If it looks fishy, it probably is. So trust your gut on that. Okay. So to recap, set up an email separate for your financial institutions, set up two-factor authentication, take 10 seconds, examine the message, inspect the links. These are big pieces that can really protect you from getting phished, from having information stolen, from having ransomware put on your computer. The threats out there are getting more and more, and also more intensive. So take action. That's part 3, right? So after the webinar today, I want you to take some time to fill out that handout, figure out where your score is, and see if there are some steps that you can take to protect yourself. Research shows we're more likely to do something if we write it down. So that's what I encourage you to say. Here at Financial Investment Team, we really pride ourselves on protecting our clients' personal information. It's really, really important to us. And we take these security measures to ensure the safety of your financial information. And so we thought, we're using these steps. This is helpful. We should get this out to you all so that you have some steps that you can take to protect yourselves. Again, I'm not an IT specialist, but these are things that you can do to protect yourself. And so today is a little short and sweet. I'm going to be wrapping it up, but if you have more questions on how we can protect you or ways that you can protect yourself, you can schedule some time with me or someone on the team, and we can meet with you and talk a little bit more about that.